This is Johnny Swinger, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview, so don't sing it, just swing it.
Very cool. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of the Interactive Interview on the interactiveinterview.com, courtesy of ProWrestling.com. Our special guest today is Johnny Swinger. Johnny, how you doing?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Great to have you on. We're doing pretty good.
All right.
All right, first question we have for you is a blanket one. It's, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Definitely.
Who were some of your favorites at that time?
Mostly all the old 80s stars, Piper, Jake, Ric Flair, Steamboat, those kind of guys. They're still my favorite, pretty much. Big fans of those guys. I got to do some stuff with Piper, so that was really cool. Dusty and that. It's always cool to be able to work with your heroes.
Did you have ambitions to be involved in the wrestling business when you were growing up?
Oh, definitely. As soon as I started watching it, I was hooked. Probably about 6 or 7 years old. Knew back then, that's what I wanted to do, and never lost sight of it, and here I am.
Who trained you?
I was trained in Toronto, Canada, by a fellow by the name of Sweet Daddy Siki. He was a pretty big star back in the 60s, and he had a wrestling school up there, and I trained there with Edge and Christian and another guy, Joey Legend, who's actually works with me in TNA right now.
Right.
So we had a pretty good class. A lot of guys come out of there.
Many of our guests have talked about some of the earlier gimmicks they've had. Did you have any gimmicks before becoming established as Johnny Swinger?
No, actually, I had one other name before Johnny Swinger. I was Johnny Paradise, which was just a name I kind of came up with because they told me I needed a name. And I worked under that for like a couple of years until I found out there was another guy working independent who was already using the name, so I ended up changing because I didn't want to be confused with somebody else. Since the guy was around longer than me, it was, more proper for me to choose the name instead of him, so.
One of the first times I remember seeing you, if I remember correctly, was on a WCW Saturday night program.
Yes.
How long were you with WCW? How did you become a part of that company?
Originally I'd probably been wrestling for maybe 2 years. I started in 93. Around 95 I got a call from a guy by the name of Scott Moore who asked me if I wanted to do some TV for WCW, and I was like, sure. At the time they were bringing in a lot of outside talent, for, enhancement matches on the Saturday night show, the syndicated tapings in Orlando.
Right.
I got started doing that. I did that for about 2 years with them, where I was living in Buffalo at the time, New York, and I was driving to Atlanta, usually twice a month, and even down to Orlando for the TV. Eventually I moved to Atlanta, and they signed me in 97. I was beginning a contract in 97, and I was there until late 99.
What led to leaving WCW?
As I'm sure if you talk to anybody that worked there, it was a pretty frustrating place to be if you were a young guy. It was, when I tell people I was there for 4 years, they usually don't believe it, and that's because I was never really on television and involved in anything. I was a pretty young guy, and I was eager to work, and they just wouldn't give me a chance to do anything, so I basically went in and I asked for my release without really having anywhere else lined up to go. But there were 2 companies at the time, WWF, of course, and ECW.
Right.
So I figured, well, I'm going to take my chance here and get out of a no-win situation, which I felt was at the time. Did a couple of tryouts for WWF, and not much really came of it. I was friends with Raven. He talked me into giving ECW a shot. I did that, and I ended up staying there for about a year. Really liked it there. Really, I felt like I made the right move leaving WCW to go there. Give me more of a chance to, shine on television. Quality was very good to me, and that's pretty much it.
How did you and Simon Diamond end up being paired up together?
It was just a chance thing. I'd been in the company maybe 2 or 3 months. Wasn't really on TV yet. They had me doing a lot of dark matches, but I was on the road doing house shows, but they really didn't have anything for me at the time. And just one night, Tommy Dreamer, who was the booker, basically came to us and, said, look, you guys can either wrestle each other tonight, or you can, work as a tag team against a couple of actually Dusty Rhodes' students. So we kind of looked at each other and like, well, we're both heels, so it really wouldn't be too good of a match, a singles match between us. So we decided to, go ahead and have the tag match, which we did, and ended up being pretty good. Everybody was pretty happy with it, and we ended up cutting some promos after the match for the TV show, and I guess visually we really looked good together, and we had good chemistry together, and basically Paul fell in love with us as a team, and started pushing us immediately.
In ECW as a tag team, one of your major feuds was with Roadkill and Danny Doring. How do you enjoy working with those two?
They were great. Actually, we just worked a couple of matches with them on TNA. It was really cool to get to do that again. We wrestled them every night for about 6 or 8 months, and they're really good guys. Roadkill his character was really over with the crowd, so it was very easy to get the crowd into our matches, and everybody had a job to do. Danny Doring took the heat, Roadkill got the big save and electrified the people, and we clicked well together. It's a good program. I really liked it. They're two cool guys. They're very easy to work with.
Daniel?
Let's take the next one.
Sure. Sorry, he's just padding off the next question on to me. ECW is where you became established in many people's minds because of the TV exposure you did get. What was the locker room like in ECW?
Definitely the best I've seen. I can't say with TNA because I haven't been there long enough yet. It's very similar, but it was definitely the best locker room. WCW was horrendous. A couple times I went up to WWF, it was very tense up there as well. The thing about ECW was you had a lot of guys that were hungry, that wanted to make the thing work, so everybody worked together as opposed to, like guys being out for themselves, in business for themselves. And I think that was the thing that was different about them as opposed to WCW and WWF, where we were out there busting our ass every night for the overall good of the company. And it was a unique thing, and like I said, it's similar in TNA, but it's not. There's something missing from it. I don't know what it is, but it's. I'm just happy I had a chance to be part of it.
Were you surprised when ECW went under?
I think it was more of a case of denial, where I think we knew that the end was coming, but we didn't want to believe it. Which is why a lot of people like to ask, well, why did you keep working when checks were missing? And it's because we believed in the product, and we really believed that Paul would find somebody to invest in the company and keep it going and get us a new television deal. So we just kept doing what we knew how to do, and that was, work. And, hopefully something would happen. So it was I think we had our last pay-per-view in January of 2001, and the company didn't really end until April. So we had a 3-month period there where there were no shows. We didn't know what was going on, and honestly, we didn't know the company was really finished until Paul Heyman showed up on Raw, pretty much.
When Paul did show up on Raw, was there any talks between you and he about going to the WWE?
I didn't speak to him probably till maybe 2 or 3 months after he showed up on Raw, and we always got along good. Like I said, Paul took good care of me when I was there, and actually, we're still friends now. I still keep in contact with him every week, and at the time, he didn't really have too much power up there when he first went in, and I started doing a lot of indies, and I was pretty busy, so it wasn't like, I have to get in there right away. So it was kind of like, when something opens up, we'll see what happens, and, like I said, at this point, I still keep in contact with him, and I know he was pushing to get me up there a couple of times over the last couple of years. The problem was that the WWF is so overstocked with talent, and they were reluctant to, hire more people when they had so many people already that they didn't really know what to do with.
On the WWA tours, you had matches with Jerry Lynn and several other predominantly cruiserweight wrestlers. Do you like being considered a lightweight wrestler, or do you like the heavyweight division?
I think my style is more heavyweight oriented, simply because I'm kind of like in the middle as far as size-wise. I'm not small enough to be as aerial as those guys are, and I'm not like a super heavyweight either, so I'm kind of like in the middle. I can work those style matches. It's not my preference, though. I prefer more of the heavyweight style, which like I'm doing now, back with Simon Diamond, and the good thing about those matches, like the WWA matches, that Jerry Lynn was in it, and he's by far probably my favorite person to work with, because he's a genius when it comes to putting those kind of matches together, and he makes sense out of them, and you know, he's just a general, and I love working with him, whether it's in a four-way cruiserweight or really a singles match. So my favorite is to do with Jerry. He's great.
In the now somewhat defunct MLW, Simon Diamond is a tag team champion with C.W. Anderson.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why the team of Simon and Swinger never took place in MLW rings?
Question I'm still trying to get answers to. The owner there, Court Bauer, had told Simon several times that he planned on bringing me in, but he kept waiting he wanted it to do some surprise angle at some point. So I guess the surprise is there aren't going to be any more shows. I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, they've canceled their shows through the end of the year, and it's a weird thing. I've never spoken to anybody directly. Never spoke to Court Bauer. It was always through Simon. So, yeah, it's a mystery.
You guys, you and Swinger did show up at TNA way before you guys became the World Tag Team Champions in July of 2002.
Right.
Has the company changed dramatically since that time to now, or is it pretty much the same?
I think it's different now. I mean, they got some different people in charge. I think the show is better now than in the beginning stage. I think it's more organized.
Right.
Like, you know, they have a better vision of where they're going with it. Whereas, you know, in the first 6 months to a year was, you know, they had different people on the show every week. And you know what I mean? Like, every week they had somebody new and featured. Whereas now there's more of a roster. You know, there's you know, 8 to 10 guys that you see on there every week being developed. Your characters being developed. So I think it's more like a real company now, as opposed to, it came off really to me like a spot show. You know, just like a really packed indie show in the beginning. That's the way I saw it anyway.
You've had some great matches with America's Most Wanted, and the tag team titles from them. How do you enjoy working with Dom and Harris?
They're tremendous. They're a great tag team. Believe all the hype, because they are a very good babyface tag team. And the thing I like about those guys is they're very generous. I mean, the way we came in, they're very helpful with us, and they didn't have to be. They didn't know us, you know, and they gave us a chance, you know, to work with them. They were already established there, very hot there with the Nashville crowd, and you know, they gave us 8 or 10 minutes that first night, man, and we just tore it up. Or we had chemistry instantly, and it was a beautiful thing. I mean, it really is, and I can't wait to get back with them, because eventually I think we're going to go back and do a program with them, and I think it's good for both of us.
At the moment, of course, you're working with Glenn Gilberti as a manager. What's it like working with Glenn?
I've known Glenn for a long time. I've known him since back in WCW days, and at first it was, you know, it wasn't really supposed to be a long-term thing, but actually visually I think we look good together, the three of us. We have, I think, a pretty good act. We have kind of like a similar look, but each guy looks, you know what I mean, different in a way.
Yeah.
But I think the three of us together, it's kind of like it makes a good package. And he's a great talker, and he can wrestle too. So we're kind of like a three-man, not really like a horseman type thing. You know what I mean? But it's three of us.
Right.
You know.
How do you feel that David Young adds to the group?
Not quite sure about it, really. I mean, originally he's cast as Glenn's flunky, and we're not really sure where we're going with it. I mean, we're still to this day trying to figure out. You know, there's been some dissension on the show in the last few weeks, but we're not really sure if we're going to actually accept him into the group or not. That's kind of the storyline right now, is we still aren't letting him in. He's trying to get in, so not really sure yet.
You had an appendectomy and wrestled within 2 weeks of the surgery.
Yes.
Did you have medical clearance to return?
I told him I did, but I lied. I was supposed to take 4 weeks off minimum. But in this business, when you stay home, somebody else is ready to jump in your spot. And it took me 3 years to get another spot, and I wasn't going to let somebody take it from me. So I just gutted it out and worked around it, which most guys, you know, that's what we do. We work around injuries and you know, problems like that.
Talking about someone taking a spot, David Young replaced you in the tag team match with us, along with Simon. Was it just chance that David Young replaced you, or was he lined up to be?
I think it was. I think right at last minute, because I went in for emergency surgery, I let them know like Tuesday night, so they had less than 24 hours to come up with another option. And I think that I had been told that there was plans of him coming with us eventually, so it just kind of, you know, here it is. We have to do it now. We have to put somebody in there. I think that's what it was.
How is the injury now? How is it healing?
I'm pretty much 100% now. I'm back in the gym, strong, and back in shape. Been having matches, you know, 2 or 3 a week. Since then, I feel, you know, the first 4 weeks were really hard, you know, afterwards, but now I'm pretty much in the clear and, you know, back to normal. Hopefully nothing like that happens again. Nothing, you know, is not ring-related. It's just something that happens. Could happen to anybody walking down the street. Very unexpected. And, you know, pretty lucky with injuries, so it kind of caught me off guard with, you know, a health problem.
Just last night, you were stripped of the tag team titles. Well, not stripped, but they were held up against 3 Live Crew. What are your future plans with TNA?
Well, I'm under contract for a year.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm definitely, me and Simon are definitely part of the company. Not sure we're having a rematch next week. I know that. What the outcome of that's going to be, I have no idea. The direction was originally us, well, going back for America's Most Wanted. I'm not sure if that's still the plan. I hope it is, because I think that's, you know, not to be arrogant, but I think that's the best possible tag team match they can have on the show. So hopefully that's, you know, what's going to get worked in. Maybe it'll be a 3-way thing. I'm not sure. Either they don't know or they're not telling us.
I see. A question submitted by one of our listeners was, it was rumored a couple of months ago that yourself, Simon, and unrelatedly Jim Mitchell had interest from WWE. Is that correct? Did you have talks with them at any point?
Well, I can't speak for those guys, but yes, I did have some correspondence with them. And see, the thing was, is I had spoken to actually several people. It was facilitated through Paul, and basically they were interested, but they weren't really offering a guarantee of what I would be doing there. And since I was already with TNA and already in a good spot, and they were offering to sign us to pretty decent contracts, you know, I opted to stay where I was. Because, I mean, my opinion is that WWF is still overstocked with talent right now. And I didn't think that it was wise to leave a spot that I already had that I liked, because I was very happy working there, which I still am, to go up there and not really know what's going to happen. I mean,
Sorry, to continue, sir.
That's okay.
Did they give you any, when you did have correspondence with them, did they give you any rough idea of what you're doing? Because they seem to have a relatively light on-screen tag team division at the moment.
Never really said, and honestly, there was no discussion about me coming with Simon Diamond as a team. It was really just, you know, talked about me, and I never, you know, they never brought up anything about him, so I didn't even know what they were thinking as far as if they were interested in us as a team or as singles guys or what. That was the thing that kind of led me to, well, I know what my situation is with TNA. I know how much money I'm going to make, for how long, and I was happy working there, so I felt more comfortable staying with it. And, you know, I mean, obviously everybody's dreams to work for Vince McMahon, and that is mine too, but it's always the timing issue. You know, it's the right time and the right place. And I just, at the time, it really wasn't it, I don't think.
You just mentioned your contract with NWA TNA, but
yes.
What kind of restrictions do you have on the contract in regards to working for
I can work for anybody except for Vince McMahon. We can take any indie bookings, any Japan tours, any international. The tours, if I want to do a tour of Japan, I have to give a 4-week notice. That's about the only restriction, which is fine with me because I'm not really interested in going to Japan. I mean, it's not my style of work. I mean, I'm not opposed to going, but I'm not, you know, chomping at the bit to go either. I mean, if the money's right, obviously I'm going to go. It's just not high on my list of priorities right now. So I like doing the TNA every Wednesday, and I have my weekends I can book up with indies, and if I don't feel like working, I don't have to on the weekends. I really like the freedom of not, you know, being in control of my schedule.
If say promoters listening and would like to book you for one of their shows, how can they contact you?
I have, actually there's a new thing with TNA Bookings are doing third-party bookings for us through David Penzer. He has a website out. I think it's inyourfacebookings.com,
right.
He may have changed the name of it. It might be, like, have a TNA name on it by now.
I think it's TNAbookings.com now, but
what it is. Yeah.
But I know that In Your Face Booking still is active.
I think I'm probably on that too.
Okay.
If he's going to keep them separate, I'll be on either one of his. And we're trying to get more bookings with me and Simon together. It's hard getting booked as a tag team. It's a big expense for promoters, but.
Another question sent in from one of the listeners is from Daniel McKay. He'd like to know, I searched across the internet to find out your legitimate height and weight. So what are they?
My legit height and weight. My legit height is 5'10". My weight fluctuates between 210, 225 pounds, depending on how much I eat one day, right? My average weight is about 218.
As I'm seeing right now, there's a question that is usually considered the most hated question from our guests, and that is, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Still in the business, definitely. Where? Not sure, man. I'd be a fool to say that the business is not in trouble, because it is right now. There's never been so few opportunities, and with the WWF being the only major company, I don't consider TNA direct competition yet. I think it has potential. If they're still around and bigger, that'd be great for everybody.
Right.
All I can say is 5 years from now, I'll be 33 years old, and I'll be pretty close to my prime, I think.
I have one more question before we hit the word associations, sent in from, with a rather interesting name, a girl who calls herself a hot TNA fan. Would like to know, Johnny, you look superb in the ring. What training schedule and workout routine do you have?
I am actually I was never a competitive bodybuilder, but it's kind of like a hobby for me. I really took, in the last few years of my wrestling career, I've realized that physique plays an important part in looking like a star. So I've really schooled myself on developing my body, and I've been training for so long, and I know my body that it's, what works for me might not work for somebody else. Everybody's different, but what works for me is I train about an hour and a half every day. I'm in the gym 6 days a week. Even if I'm on the road, I find a way to train. The main thing is I eat very healthy. I'm very strict on my diet. It makes a world of difference. I don't drink or smoke or do any recreational drugs or anything like that. And it's pretty much how I put it all together. I wasn't blessed with a lot of size as far as height, but I was pretty gifted in the superiorly wide shoulders, narrow waist, so I try to accentuate that as much as I can and use, the few gifts I was given to the fullest extent.
Would you like to do word associations, where we basically say a name and you can give a story, or just a one? You can give one word, or you can give a story if you have one for anybody we say. First name on the list is Rhino.
Tremendous athlete. Known him for a long time. Broke in with him, and so much I can say about him. As far as saying one word, definitely should be a much bigger player than he is.
Dawn Marie.
My favorite woman in the business.
Simon Diamond.
Best friend in the business.
Danny Doring.
Underrated worker.
Francine.
Don't know her that well. Always was good to me in ECW.
Tommy Dreamer.
Underrated genius. Very smart guy.
Jerry Lynn.
One of the best workers in the country.
Jasmine St. Clair.
Heard about her work. A little intimidated by it.
Roadkill.
Tremendous character.
Jerry Jarrett.
Jerry Jarrett. The man that basically employs me now, I'm very grateful to.
Jeff Jarrett.
once again, my boss and our Triple H.
Vince Russo?
Creative genius.
And unless Daniel has one, I have a final one, and it's Vince McMahon.
My idol.
I have a couple just to throw at you. America's Most Wanted.
Best tag team in the business.
And the final one that I've got to throw at you is Three Live Crew.
Very entertaining. Love Road Dogg, or BG James as he called now. One of the funniest guys I've ever met.
How about somebody coming to TNA very soon, Hulk Hogan?
My dream to work with him, so maybe I'll get a chance.
Okay, we can't thank you enough. Just one question. Do you have a website?
No, I don't, right at this time. I'm actually getting somebody to work on that for me. I'm pretty lazy with stuff like that. It's the most often question I get asked is, do I have a website? And I always have to say no.
All right, we can't thank you enough for your time, and stay tuned for more from Interactive Interviews.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, this is James Storm with American Most Wanted. You're listening to the Interactive Interview. If you don't like that, sorry about your damn luck.
Welcome back to the Johnny Swinger edition of the Interactive Interview. Daniel and I have been hitting the liquor.
Oh yeah, it's courtesy of ProWrestling.com.
Yeah, the liquor's courtesy of ProWrestling.com.
Head across to ProWrestling.com for all your licensing, licking, and buy alcohol.
That's like a Stone Cold thing.
Yeah.
Stone Cold thing. Buy alcohol, drink beer.
Fuck beer.
Okay.
Oh god, let's not start swearing again.
There's an F-bomb again.
Anyway, someone mentioned that to me after the last show. Apparently I swore and dropped an F-bomb for the first time in a long time, so they mentioned about how they thought it was a family-friendly show and stuff, so I promised him I wouldn't say fuck on this show, so.
I won't say fuck no. There's no fucking way I'm going to say fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we probably, kind of used up and killed our quota of the F word. So, moving on.
That's enough for one day. Yeah. Well, what'd you think of the Johnny Swinger interview?
I was really pleased with it. I mean, it's a shame, obviously, we couldn't get Simon Diamond on the show like we tried, because we tried it back in October, November, when it was originally recorded, this interview.
November.
Yep, November. And we tried to get him on then, and we tried to get him on more recently, but we couldn't, unfortunately.
And you know what helps, though?
What helps?
When somebody actually picks up the phone.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to get somebody to say yes or no to the interview, and when you can actually hear their voice.
But of course, yeah, Johnny, we just tried to get him on the show. Johnny, Simon, didn't work out, so we figured we'd put this interview online because it's a good interview. And of course, recently, since the interview was recorded, they're no longer even tag team partners. So, of course, Johnny Swinger actually turned heel recently on TNA.
Well, you know why? You know why we didn't put them together then?
What's that?
Because you and I have backstage information.
Oh, yeah.
We knew they were going to split.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. We just, we're ahead of the times, We could tell, if we wanted to, if we weren't, like, hush, hush, promised to sworn to secrecy, then, we could tell you who's going to be the next champ. We could probably even tell you who's going to be the next one to, debut from WWE, but, we just probably shouldn't,
We can also give you the results of WrestleMania 21 right now.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
But we respect kayfabe, so we're going to keep it to a minimum.
And we're nice guys, so.
Yeah. I liked the interview quite a bit. I think he said a lot of useful information. A lot of people don't know he was with WCW.
Mm.
I mean, I remember it. I remember he had these black and white pants that looked like zebra pants, and he had these, almost like Marty Jannetty kind of like tassels hanging from his arms at one point. He was really, rocked out. He looked pretty cool, but, that was 97, 98, and then all of a sudden you never saw him again. Maybe the occasional Saturday night appearance, and then he made appearance on ECW. And, a lot of people only remember seeing him in ECW because of the tag team with Simon Diamond and, of course, managed by Dawn Marie.
But the one comment that I really liked from the interview was when he mentioned about his injury and how he came back early from it. And I don't know why, but when the question was being asked, I really just thought that would be the answer. The answer he gave, I really thought, come on, the perfect answer would be, the answer that he gave. And so I really just enjoyed hearing that. Enjoyed hearing that piece.
Once again, we predicted what he was going to say.
Exactly.
Maybe we shouldn't even do interviews with guys anymore. We should just so we had Hulk Hogan on, and he said he started in a band in the 70s, and instead of actually interviewing the people, we can just say who we had on.
We could do a biography.
We know what they're going to say anyway, so why don't we just...
See, we should probably do that next time someone stands us up, like a couple of times in a row, for example. Say, like Ernest Cat Miller or something. We could, instead of having him on, we could just, I'll ask one question, and you give the answer to it.
Wow! I feel good. Okay.
And you can feel good.
Okay.
And it'll be a really good feel-good factor. It wouldn't be quite as interesting, obviously, because it'd just be us talking for a long time.
And fans seem to love that.
Yeah, honestly. So maybe we should make this short.
Yeah, we should. Well, I just want to cover up one thing that we did cover up a minute ago that, for some stupid reason, I did not catch. What's going on with the AJ Styles TNA Ring of Honor controversy?
Oh, yes, right. Basically, the deal is this, that, of course, if you listen to a past show, we mentioned it, that AJ Styles and a couple of other guys, TNA basically want them to be exclusive and not work for Ring of Honor.
Uh-huh.
So Mike Johnson reported this story, got it onto the internet, and apparently within 24 hours of that story being online, both Fox and TNA themselves, of course Fox being the channel that they're probably going to get TV on or whatever, I haven't been really following it, but they all had a load of emails sent in from Ring of Honor fans, both organised and unorganised, by Ring of Honor representatives and such, showing their displeasure. Because of this, within 24 hours, TNA had contacted Ring of Honor in the form of Gabe Sapolsky, former guest of the show, and Gabe basically put a plea out saying to all the Ring of Honor fans, it won't make you a difference by emailing Fox or TNA. If that's not the way to go about it, please don't do it. So, as Bob McGee said in his column when I read it today, basically, if TNA were that worried and that scared that they had to act after only 24 hours of fan feedback and emails, then say I wonder what would happen after maybe a week or, God forbid, a full month of hate mail and negative criticism. When, if it ever happens, someone like AJ Styles or Amazing Red or Christopher Daniels does sign to say that they won't work for Ring of Honor.
See, the fans do not make those decisions. The companies make that decision. I don't think Fox is going to go, wait a minute, you did something that made the fans mad. No, they don't care. They don't care as long as you're going to get the ratings. I mean, they don't care. I mean, in reality, this business is a work anyway, so who the hell knows if they even believe what they're getting?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come down to that. If I could just give something, I had a friend in the past, I won't say the name, that used to work for both companies. And I always asked, did TNA ever say don't work for them? And TNA contracts, as they state now, say you can work for anybody else, but please give us an advance if you're going to be, a month advance if you're going to be unavailable on a Wednesday night, and you cannot work for the WWE. That's what the contract says.
Which is, completely fair enough.
Right.
To stop people from jumping, like obviously Zach Gowen did, and Alex Lurie has.
Right.
I imagine there probably would be others, but
obviously they weren't under long-term contract.
Exactly. So, but I mean, apparently the reason this all came about was because Fox saw that the guys on TNA were also being used by Ring of Honor, and thought there was some sort of partnership or affiliation between the two feds. So TNA's response to that was, instead of saying to Fox, no, nothing there, it was, let's go and get the guys that Fox thinks are our guys and stop them from working for Ring of Honor. Or maybe it was just because they saw the fact that they drew like over 1,800 paying fans the day before WrestleMania, and have national, distribution deals on their DVDs and such, and they finally figured out, okay, they're actually, coming close to being good competition.
Yeah. All right. I'll accept them as maybe, but I don't think they're ever going to be, they don't have the weekly shows. Once they start running shows weekly, and maybe get themselves on a pay-per-view kind of deal, maybe once a month or something, then I'll consider them competition. But for right now, they're just really like a really, really, really good indie fed, which many people consider TNA anyway. So
Yeah.
So maybe they are competition. Who knows?
Depends how you classify indie fed, I suppose.
I think once you have TV, you're not an indie fed.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, IWA in Puerto Rico has TV, so they're not an indie fan.
Yeah, true.
I mean, but people consider them indie.
Yeah, simply because maybe they don't know they have television because they don't have television in the States, maybe.
Well, IWA has it on the DirecTV service, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
That's how you're getting the tapes from Mr. Corleone.
Yeah. Dave, the Lifesaver Corleone. Yep, had another IWA tape come through, and a couple of others, serving and protecting. And I did say that I'd review that IWA tape when I've watched it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because I've been checking out a couple of UK tapes, and I'm almost through those 20 or so, however many there are. It's only about 8 really, but almost finished through those. Checking out some UK talent and stuff. But we'll run through IWA either on the next show or the show after.
IWA is pretty damn cool stuff. I watched it.
I really like it. It's good.
It's good for what it is. The only problem they have is the language barrier, which I don't know if they're ever going to be able to break. But they have to have somebody that translate it.
Well, in the UK, on the wrestling channel, when the Japanese stuff comes on, basically all the Puro and the Japanese marks and the really big fans, the super fans, have all been saying because the casual fans have all been saying, get rid of the commentary and whack an English commentator over the top. What they've done is, instead of doing that, they've put up a guy called Mo Chatra, who he works for Power Slam magazine in the UK, or Total Wrestling, one of the two. And he's doing voiceovers, basically, before the show to explain what the show is, and then to explain who the wrestlers in the match are, which I think is a good idea, because it's keeping, the whole Japanese commentary style, that all the super fans will like, and it's letting all the casual fans know who these people are, because they may see someone and it may come up in the Japanese language as to who they are, which it's happened to me before, and someone could say, oh, this so-and-so, they're really, really good, and they may have seen them but not know they've seen them, which I'm certain must have happened to me before, because I obviously cannot read Japanese, so when I see Japanese tapes I don't know who I'm watching.
Right, absolutely, and the wrestling channel's a good idea. I'm hearing grumblings that there could be a WWE channel starting up on DirecTV.
Yeah, apparently there actually is. It's going to be WWE 24/7 or something, but it's apparently at the moment it's an online thing, but it could be, they're touting it around the cable networks and stuff to see if anybody wants to pick it up. 70,000 hours of tapes or something, or 700,000 or whatever it is, because of course WCW, ECW, AWA and WWE. All 4 of those are all available on this service at the moment, so really good idea. Finally.
Finally, they could, what I was thinking they could do is they can start Nitro from the beginning, and every week show it,
Which would obviously build up guys like Booker T, build up, like Goldberg, if they want him back, because fans will once again be able to relive it, and newer fans will get to know who they are.
And nostalgic fans like me can sit down and watch again, watch the NWO unfold in front of your eyes once more time.
And guys like Sean O'Hare and Mark Jindrak and Chuck Palumbo probably, benefit amazingly from people knowing who they are again.
Right.
But, anyway, that's one for the future.
Yeah.
See how it works. Wrestling Channel looks like it's going okay at the moment. I went to a FWA show over the weekend, just gone, which was a television taping for the Wrestling Channel. So had the big banners in the background and everything, and obviously that's a lot of people there didn't know there was a Wrestling Channel, so that's good marketing for the Wrestling Channel, because I'm sure another 100 or so people will now tune in and check it out at least once.
What else did I want to I watched WWE TV.
Oh yes, you said.
2 shows in a week.
I remember you saying to me the other day about you watched Raw and then you're going to watch SmackDown, so what did you think?
Raw was cool. What I want to point out about Raw is how good their production is. You know, in TNA, you had to pay $10 even if you're a wrestler for a shirt.
Oh my god. Instead of 20, yeah?
Instead of 20, so yeah, you get half price.
That's still definitely a markup on the production price, surely.
Right.
They're still making money off the wrestlers. That's terrible. But anyway, do continue.
Yeah, so you know, on Raw they have these guys wearing the blue for SmackDown, and it says SmackDown on the shirt, and Raw was the red shirts, you know?
Yeah.
And they say Raw and SmackDown on the shirts. And, you know, that's pretty cool because now you know who's on whose side, even if they're not in the locker room at the time. And it's just a cool effect that other companies, you know, they look past. Even WCW looked past it. You know, when the Millionaires Club and against the New Blood, what they should have had was like the Millionaires had some sort of a T-shirt. And you could have marketed that T-shirt and charged the fans, you know, money for it. And, you know, fans would have either wanted the New Blood shirt, which they eventually did release for fans, but not anywhere near the time when it actually was around. And, you know, there was no Millionaire shirt. The closest thing was Hogan's FUNB bowling shirt, which they never released.
Well, the one thing that I can say from Raw, the only bad thing I can say, is that apparently I didn't catch it this week. So you've watched more WWE television this week than I have. But, yeah, apparently in the locker room on the draft, apparently Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio were sitting, you know, plumped next to each other when they've had some, you know, troubles on WWE television in recent times. So that's the one thing that, if it's true, then you know, maybe it was a complete oversight by WWE, or maybe it was done on purpose to get over the fact that with the, you know, the brand split, the roster split being kind of recreated, that everybody's on one side for one night or something. I don't know.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Just mind things.
I don't think people would even pick up on it. I didn't.
No, I didn't until I read it, obviously, because, you know.
Yeah, but that's nitpicking.
They said in the Raw report that I read. So.
But that's nitpicking. That's what they do in movies too. Some people, you know, they sit there and they try to find the smallest, you know, errors that nobody really even cares about. Like if it's a movie that's supposed to be set in 1956 and one of the cars is 1958. I mean, nobody would notice. That's just like somebody who's obsessing over things like that.
Okay, and I apologize for that one as well. Okay.
No, it's a good point, but I don't think there's, you know, I don't think they were doing Raw versus SmackDown. I mean, you know, SmackDown against SmackDown angles. It was pretty much Raw versus SmackDown. So everybody was on the same side that night. Yeah, but SmackDown was all right. I didn't like it too much. I like the set better. I think they made the set a little darker.
I heard a rumor that this week they're going to get a new logo for SmackDown.
I just had a thought. If John Bradshaw Layfield is on Fox News and TNA is on Fox Sports, is there a conflict of interest? The same company owns it.
Yeah. But who do you think would win out? You know, would they dump TNA or dump Bradshaw?
I don't think they'd dump either, but I think it'd be a conflict of interest somewhere.
I'm sure Vince would try and get something done about it.
Vince would flip out. He'd say, "Oh, you can't go over them, you shut up."
Of course, Bradshaw's probably going to be the top heel on SmackDown pretty soon, so, you know, he can have some pulling power and say, you know, I'm the number one guy on SmackDown, you know, dump TNA. But
I think they should just, you know, as fans, I read the forums. I didn't post on them, but I read the forums, and people are jumping on the gimmick already. Give it a chance, man. I mean, I'll be the first one to say I don't like WWE, and I bash it whenever I can, but give it a chance to unfold. You can't just say, I don't like this, change it. Let them try something new. And if it doesn't work, fine, but give it a couple weeks, at least.
I advocate that line of thinking as well, so I agree, but, you know, see how it goes. I'm one to let anything unfold to a certain extent in terms of wrestling angles and such, so,
right.
You know, see where it goes. If I still don't like where it's going after a few weeks, a few months or whatever, or if I think it's dragging, then I'll start to get on its back, but...
Well, WWE fans, they're at the same point that WCW fans were at, in that they can't do anything right, and they're just going to bitch no matter what happens. And You know, to an extent, I kind of sit back and laugh, and I think Vince brought this upon himself. At the same rate, you know, this is the only healthy company out there right now. So relax on them a little bit. Let them try something, and maybe it'll work. I give them credit. They're more wrestling now than they've been in a long time. And that's a good thing. I don't give them credit in the Smosh finishes, though. Christ, it's 2 in a row. You know, Smosh main events. That's stupid.
Yeah, well.
Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. I mean, I understand why.
Well, I suppose, but it's building, you know, different matches that could happen in the future, I suppose.
True. True. Well,
real finishes as such. But.
Yeah. Well, this was a nice little short thing. We actually kept it at wrestling once again. That was pretty cool.
And we appreciate, of course, Johnny Swinner coming on the show back in November.
We're sure he's going to be reading this on the internet one of these days, and he's going to say, "I did an interview recently."
Who are these guys? That wasn't me. Oh my God, it was. But yeah, it's a few months old now, and hope you all enjoyed it. Check out the archive section on the interactiveinterview.com, the official website, for all our interviews in not only listening form, audio form, but you can also check out the transcripts or something and find out if you want to listen to it first. Which is,
well, we strongly advise you listen to it.
You don't really get as much, out of it if you don't listen to it.
Yeah, you can't hear the train of, the tone of their voice when they say something, or if something's made to be jovial, and if it doesn't go across on TV that way, I mean on the show that way.
Yeah, we're on TV apparently, folks. Yeah, and so explains big camera in the corner room. Not really, not at all.
Okay.
I'm signing up for Big Brother apparently. I'm not really, I'm joking.
1984.
1984. The year I was born. No, it wasn't. That was 1985.
Was it?
No.
Holy shit.
Yes, it was.
You're younger than I thought you were.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Now I feel like ancient.
Well, this was the Johnny Swinger edition of the Interactive Interview, and we're going to close out appropriately with Cherry Pie by Warrant. This is off the album Latest and Greatest. Check it out.